Let's talk squash with Natasha and Big Rock Organics. We're going to be baking some of our squashes. This is a honey nut. I like to cook them whole. I just stab them. This is a kabocha. We have black futsu. We have a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to put our spaghetti squash, which I've cut in half, scooped out the seeds. We're going to just put that face down on the pan, and then all these squashes are going to go into a 350-degree oven, and we're going to bake them for, maybe 40 minutes or so until they're tender.
Okay, we're going to try some of these squashes out. So after baking, I took and cut these in half. And let's go ahead and try each one of these. So this one here is the honey nut. It's that tiny little butternut squash that's super cute. So after cutting in half, it's nice and baked. It's nice and soft. We're going to just scoop out the seeds to all of these guys and any of these little strings. So, different people cook their squashes differently. I just find it's really easy to cook these whole and then clean out all the seeds and stuff, and our chickens love the seed goop here. They just think that's fantastic. So let's go ahead and give this a try. We have a darker kind of beautiful golden colored flesh. It is very smooth and tender, and we're gonna give that a try. Now normally I would take and put a little bit of butter in the cavity here, some cinnamon sugar, maybe a little maple syrup if you want it sweet, or you can go savory. Some roasted garlic and Parmesan cheese would be really fantastic. But I'm just going to sample these plain, and actually the reason these are cut, I'll be completely honest, is because we kind of dug into these right away, and the lighting wasn't good for video, so that's why I'm doing that now. So let's go ahead and we're going to try this out. So here goes a little bit of that. Oh my gosh, that is really, really good. This one might be one of my new favorites. That's the honey nut. I would say the flesh is medium for, wet to dry scale. It's about in the middle. It's very sweet, very smooth, really delicious. So that is the honey nut. Really like that one. Okay, the next squash on our trial is the kabocha, which was the smooth one. And here's a little section that we cut, and we tried that one the other night as well. So let's go ahead and try that together. So this one is also called a Japanese pumpkin. Kabocha are a drier squash. It also has an edible skin. So even though that squash was so firm and hard before we baked it, the skin is actually soft enough so that you can slice and serve it with the skin, and the skin is not untasty. It's actually really, really good. So here is the flesh, beautiful color. It's a drier, more crumbly flesh, and let's go ahead and try that one. So this is the kabocha. Oh my gosh. Okay, so in our trial, this is my husband's favorite. He goes, that's the one I like. It is so good. It's so flaky almost. It's very newly harvested, so these actually sweeten with time. If you give these like a month or two, they'll get even sweeter, but it's still really, really good as it is. I need another bite of that. Oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. So good. This one makes a very nice, mash as well. I can't stop eating it because it's so good. Oh my goodness. Kabocha, 11 out of 10 for tastiness on that one. That is one of our favorites, and this one stores really, really well and stores really, really long. So there's that one for you. Really good. Okay, we've got the futsu. This was the ribbed squash with that pretty long stem, kind of a rust color. So here's the inside of that, and this one is going to be a little bit wetter than some of the other ones we've tried. Beautiful color though. So let's go ahead and try a little bit of this one. This is the black futsu. Okay, this one definitely has a little better texture. And that can vary too from squash to squash. Sometimes the maturity, if you have some that are slightly more immature, they're going to be a little bit more watery than another kind that's a little bit more mature. But it's very good. It's very moist. It is sweet, but not overly sweet. Not super sweet, got a little bit of a nutty flavor. The descriptions say it has a bit of a chestnut flavor. Being that I haven't really eaten many chestnuts in my life, I can't attest to that. But it is very tasty. That is a black futsu. Nice. It's not overly sweet, but it's not, you know, too savory. Just right there in the middle. And that is a delicious squash as well. All right, it's spaghetti squash time. So this one I had cut open, scooped out the seeds and roasted. And if you have any doubt as to why it's called spaghetti squash, just look at how this becomes like spaghetti. This is so fun. Oh my gosh. So you just take and fork all this stuff out. And the coolest thing is that you can actually make your spaghetti and put your sauce and your cheese and your toppings and whatnot, which is what I'm going to do for dinner tonight. Just mix it all up in the squash, and then guess what? Pop it back in the oven with some cheese on top, and you have twice baked spaghetti, and you have your own little serving shell. So let's go ahead and try some of that. You know, this also, as much as I think like spaghetti, and I think Italian, I think this would be really, really good in some Asian inspired noodle dishes like ramen bowl, or even like, you know, stir-fried noodles. I think that would be really good too. So let's go ahead and try that. Isn't that so crazy how spaghetti-like it is? All right, so here it goes. That is really, really, really good. So I will say that because it's got a completely different structure than all the other squashes, it is going to feel like it's a little bit more wet, but it's crunchy a little bit. It's not soft. And so it does give you kind of that satisfaction of a noodle, you know, texture and flavor. And I mean, look at it. It's like you can twirl it. You can do all the things you do with pasta. And how healthy is that? No carb right here. So I'm thinking this would be really, really good like in pad thai, different things like that, where you would use like a clear cellophane rice noodle. I think it would be delicious as well. I'm going to saute some broccoli and garlic and make an Alfredo sauce. Actually, I'm going to use some of those other squashes and make an Alfredo sauce for this that it has a little bit of a squash base to it. And I'm going to mix that up and put that in for dinner. So next clip, we're going to show you what that looks like for dinner. And I'm glad you've tried these different squashes with us. I really can't stop eating it. So let me get to the kitchen and we're going to prep this all the way from beginning to end for a nice meal. Okay, here's dish number 1. This is the spaghetti squash, and I prepared a brown butter, garlic, and squash Alfredo that I tossed the pasta with, and I put a little bit of Parmesan on top, and then these will go ahead and get baked. And I mean, look at how fun that is in their own little shell. So that's a great meal. I'm going to serve it with some broccoli and a side of protein. So that's one thing that I did. And then with some of my leftover squash, I'm going to take and just put those in a container and put those in the fridge. And that way, when I'm ready to just pop one in the microwave for a quick and easy meal, side addition, I can. Otherwise, I can also scoop it out and add that to maybe pancake batter or, you know, anything that I just want a little bit of squash in there. Squash is also really, really good added to chili and other things like that, just to help thicken it and sweeten it a little bit. I also pop leftovers into here, so if you've got like leftover taco meat or something like that, anything you can pop into here, you know, leftover rice, any sort of, you know, chopped apples, and even a trail mix, like a fruit trail mix, you know, toss that with some leftover rice, put that in here, is really good. So I just keep these in the fridge, and that way whenever I want one, I could use them up to about a week or so after I baked them, and they're ready to go, and I don't have to turn the oven on to bake again. So I bake a lot of squashes at once. That way I can kind of have a lot of different options for my meal. So there we go. That is my exploration and tasting of some of the different squashes we have this season.